In today's episode, we're checking out 10 quests that were cut from Fallout 4. There's a cut quest called Off the Grid, and it still has an unused icon depicting Diamond City. Its quest ID implies it took place prior to the quest The Nuclear Option, and code reveals it only would have occurred if the player had become the enemy of the Institute. It would have been given by the Brotherhood of Steel, Minutemen, or the Railroad depending on your choices. If the player took the quest through the Minutemen, they'd have to recruit a certain number of settlers before it could be started. If you took the quest from the Brotherhood or Railroad, but were then kicked out of said faction, the quest would continue, but you'd be forced to complete it for the Minutemen. It revolved around the Institute assaulting the radio tower at Diamond City, and when the quest was initiated, Diamond City radio would be disabled and another station would be played, potentially a distress beacon. When the player arrived, they'd find that all of the settlement's guards were dead, and that the citizens had been taken as prisoners. Whatever faction the player fought alongside would have a NPC that acted as the leader of the Allied forces. Preston Garvey in case of the Minutemen, Danse would have led the Brotherhood, and the Railroad's leader was never set up. At some point you'd need to talk to the faction leader, which would have advanced the quest stage. On the other side, the attack team would have been led by a unique courser named Y7-38, but the only remnant of this character is an unused male voice type. The Institute's forces would have taken hostages the player needed to save. As a dev note still mentions, script to check if someone we tell you to rescue dies, then fail that objective. It's unknown if these prisoners would have been generic NPCs or named characters, but the latter could have given the quest high stakes. At the end of the quest, a marker would be enabled depending on the faction you chose, causing dead members of that faction to appear around the city, which could have been a cool way to show the carnage of the battle. After killing all of the synths, the quest would be completed, and whatever faction the player took the quest through would stay behind and occupy Diamond City. This aspect of the quest was recycled to occur after the player blows up the Institute or Predwin. There's another cut quest called The Replacement, and its ID links it to the Institute. It would have happened after completing the Battle of Bunker Hill, and its unused quest icon has led to a theory that it involved resurrecting the player's dead spouse as a synth. This is a cool idea that could have led to an interesting moral decision, but I'm hesitant to speculate too much, considering this is a massive assumption that has little evidence to back it up. I do have another theory that's less exciting but potentially more plausible. There's an Institute scientist named Dr. Benet, and after his wife's death he literally replaced her with a synth of the same name, perhaps where the quest name stemmed from. Max Loken has quite a few lines mentioning how inappropriate their relationship is, and there's even unused holodisc dialogue that expands on it even further.
I know we've discussed this matter before, but I'm not sure I've made the extent of my concerns clear to you. Many of us are increasingly uncomfortable with the idea of a synth living with Dr. Benet. Frankly, many of us believe Alan doesn't understand how inappropriate his relationship with the third-generation unit is.
I hope you'll consider having a word with Dr. Benet. The longer this continues, the more attached he and the boy will become to the synth. The more difficult it will be to let go.
I hope you'll consider having a word with Dr. Benet. The longer this continues, the more attached he and the boy will become to the synth, and the more difficult it'll be to let go.
Maybe you once had to deal with this replacement, but so little remains that we'll likely never know the actual premise of this lost mission, short of developer confirmation.
Thanks. Hey, while you're there, could you return this book for me? It's from the library. Don't even ask how long it's been overdue.
During the quest Public Knowledge, the player is sent by Daisy to take out some super mutants at Boston Public Library and return an overdue book. The quest ends after completing these objectives and returning to Goodneighbor, but it appears that this quest was originally intended to funnel the player into an intriguing follow-up quest. Inside the library, there's two mysterious dead NPCs named Curator Givens and Dalen, and it's implied they were killed by the super mutants who were assaulting the library in the final game. Given's journal entries can be found near his dead body, and they read, Given's log 5-3. It's getting more and more difficult, but we were able to get a hold of a few more books today. While I was scanning them in, I overheard Dalen telling Shelby that we should just compress the archives and get out of here. I thought about smacking him upside his fucking head, but I don't blame him for wanting to cut and run. It's been tough, and we've lost so many. But it's all worth it, right? I mean, if we don't protect the knowledge stored on these machines, who will? Given's log 521. I told them they could leave whenever they wanted to. I'm not going to force them to stay. If they don't believe in what we're doing here, then it's better if they just get out of our way. If we don't collect everything, then what's the point? Given's log 618. We've lost a few more, including Shelby. She will be missed, but I know she wouldn't have had it any other way. What we're doing here is important. There is still a lot of books left. This knowledge will help all future generations. It's up to us to keep pressing on. Given's log 85. I can't keep the bots repaired anymore. The mutants are hitting us at least once a day. Unless we get help, it's only a matter of time before they wipe us out completely. This may be the last log I write. If it is, all I ask is that the person reading this does the right thing. Help us protect the information stored on the computers in the data room. The key to the storage room is behind the terminal. There are some supplies you may find useful there. Please, only take them if you're going to further our cause. These notes imply the player can fulfill Given's dying wish by protecting the data room, but the story ends there anticlimactically. However, there's an unused quest called Overdue Books, and it's linked to an out-of-bounds terminal in the library named Boston Public Library Data Mainframe. You can still access it by clipping outside the data room, and it would have initially told the player, Current Protocol, Data Collection Status Incomplete, Error 195F. Currently waiting return of X overdue books before data collection scan can be completed. In the final game, the player can find and return overdue books to kiosk for a variety of prizes. It seems these books were originally related to this cut quest, and the unused quest reveals you needed to return 10 overdue books so they could be compressed onto a data disk. This apparently could have been done at any of the game's book kiosk, and a message would have told you the percentage of books that you had deposited. After completing that objective and returning to the data mainframe, you'd be given the message, compressing all data from the server to a holotape will format all drives. Continue with data compression sequence? The terminal still gives you the option to compress the data and eject the holodisk, which completes stage 1000 of the quest, gives the player experience and the item BPL compressed data. Presumably you would then take the holodisk to another NPC, but it's unclear who. I suspect you would have brought it back to Given's, as there's evidence he was alive at one point in development. Supporting this, both he and Dalen are set up to have the protected status, which makes it so they can only be killed by the player, a strange inclusion for a set of always dead characters. He's also a part of a faction called Curator Given's faction, which is set up to make him, Dalen, and an unused turret the enemy of the Children of Adam. There's also an unused message using the same quest prefix that would have shown the text Confessor Wesley, a reference to a rank in the Children of Adam. There's no other references to Confessor Wesley, and the rank is only held by a cut hostile NPC named Adalia in the final version of the base game. It's unknown if Adalia was a part of this quest as well, or if she was intended for something else entirely. While the Children of Adam would go on to play a major role in the Far Harbor DLC, they have almost no presence in the base game outside of appearing at Kingsport Lighthouse, Crater House, Crater of the Atom, and in some random encounters. All of this suggests they were once planned to play the role of antagonist in this quest, and were potentially planned to have a larger role in general that was eventually scrapped. Notably, Dalen is also set up to wear a gunner's outfit, suggesting they were somehow involved in the quest too. though it's unclear if you would have been working for the Gunners, or if Dalen was just a Gunner merc employed by Curator Givens. It appears that when this was cut, Givens and his team were altered to being dead, and the children of Adam were replaced by super mutants, transforming Boston Public Library into a somewhat forgettable location.
Danse is a synth. He represents everything we hate, a monstrosity of technology. I'm ordering you to hunt down Danse and execute him.
During the quest Blind Betrayal, the player is sent by Elder Maxson to kill Paladin Danse for being a synth. The player can kill or spare him and have him exiled from the Brotherhood, but there was once going to be another option where you teamed up with Danse to fight Maxson. Unfortunately, Bethesda was pretty ruthless in removing nearly every remnant of the quest, and the only leftover is some dialogue for Paladin Danse.
If you're referring to Maxson, you're right. He's still going to be a problem. But I might have a way out. When Halen warned me about Quinlan's discovery, she begged me to confront Maxson. She told me that there were Brotherhood soldiers that still believed in me, that would stand behind me if I challenged his authority. At the time, I told her that it wouldn't be right to cause a rift in our ranks. We're on the brink of war with the Institute, and weakening our unity felt like I'd be backstabbing my own troops. But knowing that you're still with me, maybe that will be enough to convince Maxson that he's making a mistake. I'll come back to the Prydwen with you, and we'll confront Maxson together. Right now, I'm not sure we can even get near Maxson before the Brotherhood would cut us down, but we have to try. I've known Maxson for a long time, and under all that protocol is a decent man. Just prepare yourself. I don't know what Maxson will have in store when we arrive. As a Brotherhood of Steel Paladin, I'm issuing a formal challenge against your authority as Elder. We'll settle this matter as it was written in the litany. In combat. Then you leave me no choice.
The line suggests the player and Danse would have gone together to confront Elder Maxson, but it's unknown if you could have reached Maxson peacefully, or if you would have had to assault the airship beforehand. Other lines imply the player would have become the Elder of the Brotherhood after killing Maxson.
I hope that's enough to convince you to take your place as Elder of the Brotherhood. The litany's clear. We have a new Elder.
This would have been a welcome addition, as it would have allowed the player to continue the Brotherhood's quest line while keeping Danse as a companion. Side quests are numbered internally MS1 through MS19, but MS06, 08, and 15 are missing. MS06 and 15 were entirely deleted, but there are still a few remnants of MS08. There's an unused NPC related to it named MS08 Computer internally, but its name would have appeared as Game Master 3000 MK2 in-game. It uses an older version of the default male player character as a base, but presumably this NPC wouldn't have appeared in-game, and would have been used behind the scenes to play dialogue or sounds. There's still a few unused high/low ping sounds using the quest prefix. There's also a cut message named MS08 Debug Message Distance, and it's titled Direction to Target. There's also some global variables for tracking distance, ranging from extreme, long, medium, and close. Finally, there's some leftover code that tracks cardinal directions, and another referencing something called Game Radio Scene. It's unknown how this quest would have worked, but it apparently involved the sole survivor playing some kind of game on a computer terminal. There's two other mysterious side quests, MS12 and MS18, named That's the Spirit and Bullet respectively. Both were also scrapped and nothing remains from either quest beyond the names. There's an unused Radiant Institute quest called Salvage. It would have been given by Max Loken, and when the quest started it would have moved a scavenger to a random synth dungeon. First you need to check on the synth's progress salvaging the dungeon. Next, the player would apparently receive 20 pre-war dollars and return a report to Max. It seems this quest was later replaced by Pest Control, which sees the protagonist fight off feral ghouls who are attacking a synth scavenger team. Last up, we have an honorable mention for a quest that is technically used, but goes unseen in the final game. After the completion of the main quest Reunions, a quest occurs that the player can normally never see called the Enemy of My Enemy. No objectives are set up to be shown, and as a result, the quest name and icon go completely unused. Some of these quests could have made Fallout 4 into an even better game. Ultimately though, all of this was left on the cutting room floor.